We're really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got to make sure I'm recording on iHeart and Spotify too.
There we go.
There we go. That's where he's going. And what we all talking about. Good evening. You're listening to WD98.5 FM with Towanna Murphy, and I am having politics, food, and fun with my special guest. Running for District 7 is Jared Price.
Hello, hello.
Re-elect Judge Teresa Jones, Division 2.
Division 1.
Is it one?
City Court, Division 1.
Because
Because technically I was appointed.
right.
So
keep
keep it.
We want to keep her.
That's
And
right.
then we have running for District 1, Rhonda Logan. We all know Rhonda Logan. Almost got thrown out of court for Rhonda Logan. He tried to throw me out several times
Yeah.
for Rhonda Logan. So what we are doing now is, everybody knows that this is election season. And in election season, we want to, we want to actually put the right person in those seats, because for the last 8 years, we've been going through some foolishness. And we want that to change. And the only way to make change is that we both put the right people in place that's going to actually do the job. And we already know that Judge Teresa has already done the job. We just want to re-elect her and keep her there so that we can stay stable. And as long as Murphy don't end up in there. As long as I don't end up in there, we are fine. We are here with Chris Beavers at Asparagus. He has amazing food. And guess what? They want to come in. They look like a restaurant on the outside. So I'm going to let each of the candidates introduce themselves and tell them the reason why they are running for these positions. And we already know we just want to keep Teresa. Okay, jump start with Jared. Go ahead, Jared.
All right. Well, basically, I'm Jared Price. I serve as commissioner for Memphis City Beautiful right now. Downtown Neighborhood Association Board of Directors, 2-term president as Victorian Village CDC. And doing all that, and being of service, I said, what is the most effective way I feel like I can make real change throughout the city? How can I do more than what I'm doing? How can I be of better service to our community? And everybody's like, Jared, you should run for city council. And being engaged and doing the city cleanups and everything, I just saw a missed opportunity from our current representative not being attentive, not showing up. So I said, you know what, I'm going to step up. I want to be the voice for that community that hasn't had a voice.
Right, and as Jared, serving as well in the community, I decided that I wanted to run because I felt that our district needed representation that was going to be a voice for them, representation that was going to serve and act and legislate based on the needs and the assets in our community. I too have been working in the community and saw the need for a greater capacity to serve, and that's why I decided to run. Someone that could be that voice and make certain that that they're represented at the table in District 1.
Right. And I am Judge Teresa Jones, the current judge in Division 1 of City Court since January of this year. So I'm running for a full 8-year term. I've been in the trenches in 201 Poplar for over 31 years. I've been a defense lawyer for 15 years in the public defender's office, a prosecutor in the city court prosecutor's office, in the very court where I now sit as judge for 16 years. So experience, fairness, and honesty. I think the citizens deserve a judge who has the legal knowledge, the experience, and to be able to draw upon experiences to understand what citizens really need in terms of fairness. It's one thing to have good intentions, but it's another to really have something to draw upon, to implement that, to push that out, to know what to do in certain circumstances. And so I'm that judge. Right. I have the experience, and hashtag keep Judge Teresa Jones.
Right, you got to keep Judge Teresa. What, Chris? I just seen Chris come out. Chris!
He was just out.
I know he was just out. Chris!
Where's Chris?
And of course, I got to introduce y'all to this fabulous establishment. He is the chef. He's my chef. This is Chris Beavers. Chris Beavers. This is Judge Teresa Jones. Rhonda Logan, candidate for District 1. Jared
Price, District 7.
See you on Facebook.
Yeah.
All
over. Right.
I think he might be paying $5 more for his advertising.
He might be. He might be.
There's people that block me that still see my face.
He's right about that.
Right. So he's the owner of Asparagus. This is where we are now.
And it's called Asparagus.
asparagus, yes.
Oh, okay. Why what's behind
Real
that?
asparagus. Not out the can, Rhonda.
I wanted to like cross the culture. So when I was growing up, I didn't even hear of asparagus or Brussels sprouts or butternut squash or any of those high-end veggies until I got to culinary school. And so, me being from North Memphis, 7th Street, you know, all I knew about was collard green, pinto beans, which that was good. I did love pinto beans. But I wanted to try to bridge the gap. You know what I mean? I wanted to try to bring my culture into an aspect of fine dining.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'll have to tell you about the recipe of butternut squash.
Okay.
So now you get to experience a fine dining of asparagus. Yeah.
When my grandmother was
Okay.
Now knock on who did it? Ron.
So everybody loved her. She was one of those.
It's okay. You
people.
can let it. It's just recording.
Here you go.
You got it.
always
It's fine.
cooked professionally. Well, when she was younger, she was a maid, but then when she got married, then she only cooked professionally 7 days, once a year. And Craig Claiborne wrote her up in his Time magazine.
Wow.
He interviewed her. He used to be on the Today Show back in the day. And so she learned to cook this different dishes.
Wow.
She gonna get you that. So and he's been gracious to host my shows every week to come and people to experience his food. If you have never had it, then you're gonna experience it. I guarantee you're gonna be back. Guarantee you're gonna be back.
I think you were at the this
You look
past
familiar.
Christmas. I did the judge at Judge. Her husband is the city attorney.
Oh, yeah. Judge Mullet.
Yeah, I did their Christmas party.
I knew you looked familiar.
Last year.
You look familiar.
I
Yeah, I was there.
I think I saw you there.
I was there.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with what Judge Teresa Jones does in her division and what cases she does. I just don't want to do that. But I want her to explain some of the things that you do at the Division 1.
And it's a good thing that you're not familiar. That means you haven't been in there.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm in city court, which is most people refer to as traffic court. But I can tell you, we do more than just traffic. If you have a dog or animal and you don't get tags or license or spayed and neutered, you might be cited to city court. If you have violations of littering or parking on your grass, those type of ordinances are brought to city court. And any type of permits, if you have a vehicle for hire permits, things of that nature, and you don't get your permits, they'll bring it to city court. And not so much now, but when they had a lot of adult-oriented clubs, if you were a patron or a dancer and you violated the ordinance, then you would be cited to city court. So we do any violation of a city ordinance, but 90% of what we do is traffic.
Okay.
And so that's what we do. Contrary to what most people think, no one in city court is sentenced to jail. Per the charter, you're not jailed for city ordinances because we don't have limited jurisdiction. We can only charge $50 plus court costs. We cannot jail.
Oh, okay, so you did see me. You just don't know which
Now, the same ticket in county court would be a jailable.
Oh, well, you see me then.
Right.
I promise you see me. Now with Logan and Jared, we're dealing with something totally different from Judge Teresa because you guys are actually y'all on the ground, which means y'all got to deal with a lot of stuff. You got to deal with. Let's start with minority contracts. We know that Memphis is 70% black, but we only have 3% of the minority contracts. What will you bring to the table when you're elected to these seats? What would you change?
Just that, making certain I'm making certain that the minority contracts reflect the demographics and reflect the city, the demographics of the city. I think that there should be more emphasis placed on that, and that make certain that when we're given the the pilots, and we're bringing and entertaining the company and the industry. That's a strong point in the contract, in the application for a business coming here, that they hire from within, hire local, and make certain that there's a percentage of minority contractors that are reflective of the city.
Okay, Jerry.
I'd sentiment that as well. Another thing that I've noticed with the minority contracts is there's a loophole that I want to work on closing. And what that loophole is if the city says we're going to hire a minority-owned business and the owner of the general contracting company happens to be a minority person, whether it be a woman or a black lady or a black man or a Hispanic lady or a Hispanic man, if they hire that one person under that license, all of their workers could still be a all white staff. Therefore, are you really genuinely hiring a minority business?
Right.
So so there's loopholes, and we need to work on that. We need to dig into when we're hiring a minority company. Let's make sure that they support a minority base, employer base, minority people who live in the neighborhood who reflect our city. If the business is 70% black, just like our city is, then we need to make sure that that's one of the companies that we give the contracts to.
And that speaks to the nature and the character of the body that's governing this city, making certain that all of the elected officials that govern have the same heartbeat and love and are looking out and being advocates for the city and the demographics that their city reflects.
Yep.
So I think that's important, not to just go by the legal document in terms of you gotta have that, but having that heartbeat for the city and love for the city.
Okay. Now, I know the judge, Teresa, don't have anything to do with this, but she got a lot to do with traffic tickets. And I know a lot of people have complaints about traffic tickets and if they paid them off, why they not, discharge off their names and things of that nature. Because I know I had an issue with that before, but I had paid all of my tickets and it was still showing up. So how do we deal with that?
So I don't know where the concept of if I pay them, it disappears. The record is just that. It's an accurate record. It will reflect that you were cited. This is what you were cited for, and you came to court, and you paid it. You can't just get rid of that. That's the record, and that's what it is. You can tell them it was dismissed, or I don't owe it. But there is no process where traffic tickets will just disappear after you pay them. By law, traffic tickets, the original issue of traffic ticket is kept forever. You can never destroy it.
Okay.
And so it's not like bankruptcy. After so many years, it grows off your record. After a period of time, the Department of Safety will not hold offenses against your license in terms of points.
Right.
So you don't continue to accumulate points. As a matter of fact, you only accumulate points if you get a certain amount of tickets within a 12-month period of time.
Okay.
But there is no process, and the law does not allow tickets going away. They'll always be there. If you were ever cited and you came to court, it will be there by law.
Okay.
But it'll show you did pay it. And you're satisfied.
I did.
Yeah.
I paid them all.
And so I always encourage people, make sure you keep your receipt. If you pay it by credit card, keep that information, because there have been instances where people say they paid and they didn't. And then a lot of times people think they paid. If you have multiple tickets, you forget, I paid one, but I didn't pay the other. And so, but the computer doesn't forget. It's going to have it logged in there.
Okay. So it never just goes away. Just pay it. It'll show that you paid.
But what we do, because there is a considerable confusion around traffic and how it's handled, so whenever a person comes in, when I was a prosecutor in the court, if they tell me this is not my ticket, or I didn't get this ticket, or I've already paid it, you can't just tell that person that's not possible and send them away. You need to investigate, you need to look at what they're saying, understand it, and trace it back, show them copies, so that, because there are errors that are made in the court system. And it could be that something was transposed and this ticket was put where it shouldn't have been under your record or name. So you always have to take people at their word and track it back to make sure that there has not been a mistake.
Okay.
Oh, here walks Mr. Littles. Mr. Craig Littles.
Everybody, he's planning to make an entrance.
Of course.
Big old plan to Oh, I'm sorry. How you doing?
You a fan.
How you doing today? Get the food today?
In a minute.
In a
And
minute.
Craig Littles is candidate for District 8-2, that's a super district that District 7 lies in. The confusing part that we were talking about was, how that all unfolds and how
Right,
it all.
because the 7 rolls into the super district 2.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get all that stuff.
Right.
I'm not figuring it out. Yeah.
Right.
So
Well,
your district rolls into what? 9?
yeah.
Then there's 9, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
8, 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
The easiest way to explain it is you take the whole city as this
Right.
piece, as this plate,
Okay.
and this plate right here is divided into 7 districts. Each one of those 7 districts has 1 council person, but then Super 8 lays over half the city, Super 9 lays over the other half, and it splits the city in half. So you've got 1 single member district, and then you also have to vote for 3 different super district representatives for the super district.
Okay.
So each district, each person in the city of Memphis has 4 council people.
So you have, like you said, and then you split it down. This is 8, this is 9. 9 has 9, 1, 2, and 3. 8 has 9, 8, 1, 2, and 3.
Plus the single member.
Plus the singles.
So that's 4.
Okay. Okay. Because I was always confused, man.
The question is, which city council districts are in District 9? That's what I'm saying. Which city council district? Like, I'm in 5, I know it's 9.
Yep.
But you said that you're a 9 also, like.
1 is in 9.
1 is in 9, so that's, how did you get that?
There's a map on the election
Yeah.
commission you can look up as to what single districts lay in what super.
And so,
Now I'm 7 and I lay in super 8. So,
Right,
yep.
I know that
Yeah.
7 is in 8, I know that 4 is in 8.
Yep.
Right.
6 is in 8
6
too.
is an 8 too.
And
Right.
3 is in 8
Yeah.
also.
Right. And 6 is an 8.
6 is in 8.
Yeah.
Right.
So 1, 2,
5.
5, and 1, 2, 5, and 3.
No, 3 is in
No,
8.
3's and 8.
3 and 8.
That's my
that I always have to
Part of 4. Part of 4 is in.
Some. A portion of 4
Parts
is
of-
an 8.
Right, it's probably not cut like a perfect pie. You have to look at your address to
Yeah.
figure out
Okay.
fall. Some parts of 4
That's
might
true.
fall in either one,
Mhm.
depending on where you live.
Yep.
So the super district city council people have a larger scale that they have to deal with versus Rhonda and Jared, they deal with just that district. But then the super districts actually deal with the majority and all other districts. So anybody in those districts can go to the super districts.
And that's why there's 3 representatives for the supers because it covers such a bigger area.
Right.
And Craig is running for super district.
8.
8-2.
But he got a flower on his head. Oh, he got a flower.
We might as well put that flower in.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we might as well put it in.
Right. He's running for 8-2.
Yeah.
And so if elected, let me just say, let me change it. I'm going to say if elected. Let's say when
Speak
elected
it
and
into
when
existence.
re-elected, what would you change? What are some things in the city that you don't like that you would change?
I don't like the appointment process. I feel the people should always have the voice of who's going to represent them. When there's a resignation or a vacancy at this point, when there's a vacancy, the council selects, who's going to represent the people. I think the people should always have the voice and who's going to represent them. So that's the thing that would change.
Yeah, and then
That's exactly what
that's what
happened.
we've been right. That's
exactly
what
what happened to me in November.
Yeah. Yeah, in November she had that issue where, the people elected her. But just because we elected her, they felt that the council wanted to appoint her, but the people appointed her. So that should have automatically X'd out what they were trying to say because the people wanted her.
But there's an expense to that.
A large
There
expense.
There is an expense,
It's not
however,
economical or feasible.
there is an expense, but when there's going to be a special election close to that time, or that needs to be worked into the process. But because of what we saw, there was going to be an appointment of a individual that was from another state, that's going to represent people. So we have to look at it and make a change on that because you should have people that the people want to vote for, want to elect.
Exactly, and that was my issue
Y'all
with,
together
with that
tonight.
whole thing with Rhonda, that this man only been in the city maybe 2 years.
I
He's been in
think
the
that
district
I
only
think
2
the
years.
bigger issue is the ordinance in terms of residency.
Okay,
right.
Requirements to
yeah,
run
that's
for
my
these
issue.
offices.
Right.
You should relinquish that
And,
position at that point.
you need to be a bona fide resident.
Yes.
You need to make sure that people have actually lived where they are wanting to represent in terms of those areas, and for a period of time.
Right.
And so then you get rid of much of the problem with Rhonda if we require that, and not just a house, not just a title to a house, and not just a voting address, but you actually live somewhere else.
Right, that you actually live somewhere.
Yeah.
That was our issue.
And as Judge John said, definitely make certain that we look at how the vacancies are filled. But that was key, because that could have been avoided altogether.
Altogether, we could have been avoided. Jared?
I mean, one of the biggest things I want to change is, just as we were discussing, Craig's 8'2", I'm 7, 8'1", 9'3". We need to take, once me and Craig are on city council, hopefully they'll spearhead this with me, and the new group of new ideas and people that want to progress the city into its 200th year will take and say, instead of 7 singles and 2 supers, let's break this down to 13 single member districts. That way the constituents that you're over it's a smaller population. You're able to connect more with your people, and it's less confusing for the voters. That's one of the big issues I want to change.
Okay, great.
Well, for me, one issue is funding. So many of our nonprofit organizations and organizations doing the work in the community oftentimes get overlooked, or it's who you know in order to get funded for certain things that the community needs. Our nonprofits are doing the work, we're involved in it. We're doing work where the city doesn't have capacity to help.
Yeah.
So why not make that process easier and more fair across the board? Because the funding is needed, and it shouldn't be such a process. And oftentimes you go to the meetings and you want to be represented and see funding, but a lot of times it's already determined who's going to get funded. And we need to really look into that holistically and work around a better situation where people can be funded equally and not who you know.
Right, because that's been one of our issues that we deal with on an everyday basis. Oh, you know him. Okay, we're going to give it to you. But you don't know this person, so.
You scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Right, I haven't seen him before, so it ain't going to happen. And so I think, I said something the other day, I think Craig was talking about it, and we were saying, most of the people vote on namesake. And then sometimes we need to come away from namesake, because the namesake have hurt us. Now, in Judge Teresa's case, she's actually been helping us, because she didn't even know she let me pass one time. I ain't gonna say nothing, no. But, because she actually is very lenient. I actually seen her be lenient at one of the courts before. And I was like, I should mercy.
You were asking for mercy.
Yeah,
Mercy.
I was
Mercy.
like, and every time she said something, I said, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Let her get it
Well, and as a judge, that we have the authority to do that when the facts and circumstances dictate. A lot of times it's not whether you're guilty. It's what should the punishment be. And I'm mindful of the fact that many of the people who come through the courts are $8, $10 an hour, and they're down there, they don't have paid leave off work. And the difference in $100, maybe a $275 ticket versus a $135 could be a bill for them.
Yep.
It could be food. And so anytime that a person comes in and they have a reasonable explanation as to why, yes, they missed, yes, they didn't pay it, but tell me why, and I look at that and make a determination of whether a reduction is in order or whether anything is in order. So that's one of the things we do. And when you ask what would we change, I really want to address our technology. In city court, we're pretty much a dinosaur. Much of our process is still manual, and that's why the lines are as long as they are, and it's why it's so difficult to change dates, to get things rearranged, because it's a manual process and we don't have a computer system. So that's one of the things that I really would like to change and address, so that individuals there will be more flexibility in the choices you have.
Oh, that looks so good.
And you
I have the
I
salad.
did. I'm so full. I should have waited to eat.
I have a spare. Okay, this is mine. That's yours.
Okay.
You wanted us out this way.
No, this is
No, I want to stop. I didn't agree.
I read lunch. I should have looked here. It looks so good.
Simple somehow.
I got you.
I didn't order yet. Everybody get that stuff. I didn't know. When I got
Well,
here, I
we
didn't
ordered because I have to.
She got to go, so you can still order. You still order. So with the city council candidates, we have a crime issue, and we know that that's a major part of our issue here in the city: crime, homicides, and we need to change that. What would you do to change that? What's some things that you would put in place to change that?
The biggest thing I think, the root cause of crime, and this is in any study that you ever look at, and this is meeting people that they'll tell you the same thing. The reason that their crime is bad in their neighborhood is education and poverty. Those two things are everything. And so when we reinvest into these neighborhoods that have been left behind, like my slogan is, it says, let's shine a light on communities and issues that have been left in the dark. We're talking about Smoky City, Klondike, New Chicago, Douglas, Hollywood, these at Fraser even, these neighborhoods, North Memphis, they feel like they don't have an option to be more than what they see people be out there in the streets sometimes. I met this kid the other day knocking on doors, and he goes, he was out there, and he goes, he goes, what are you doing? And I said, I'm knocking on doors. And he goes, well, can I come with you? Because I ain't got nothing to do. To know that they could be in, after school programs, after, training, tutoring, job training stuff, that kind of stuff. I think education is the biggest key. I think education is beneficial. You get better education when you develop home ownership in a community. When people when you have a neighborhood full of homeowners versus renters and stuff like that, you get more sense of pride. You get a better sense of a home. The kids get raised better. The community embraces each other better, and you come out with a stronger community, come out with a stronger education system. But it's also going to be a matter of poverty. We need to start fighting to get these people the jobs that they need, the wages that they need. We need an advocate in District 7, especially, to start advocating for jobs. There's no reason that these plants should be going to South Haven and Piperton and Collierville when we have the infrastructure and the spaces right here in District 7 to employ these people that are ready and willing to work.
Yeah, and piggybacking on education, that is one of the main things that I think so as well, because as I am in the neighborhood, I have a master's in clinical mental health counseling, and so therefore counseling in the neighborhood, going to the schools as working with the CDC, and I see a lot of times the acting out, even at a young age. In second grade, we go in second grade, because by third grade in middle school, it's pretty much too late. If you don't know how to read, you see a lot of acting out. You see a lot of things happening in our elementary schools, and addressing things at home. If you know you're going to come to school and you can't read, you're going to avoid that setting, right? So that leads to other things. So I think it's very important that we give attention to not just funding, but attention to our school, public school system, and make certain that when our children graduate, they can read and they have an opportunity. At that point, even if we had the jobs here, and if the workforce, was not up to par, and we don't have qualified applicants for these jobs, it's still
job training.
Job training. So making certain that we have opportunities for those that may not want to go to college.
Yep.
We need to be preparing our children to take technological jobs as well. So give more options for them, making sure that they're ready when they graduate, and that there are options for them to flow into. Thank you.
Another big thing that I've learned about is, because I have a few myself, are ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. And that's when, like, kids at a young age, something happens to them that sets them. An adverse childhood experience can really affect a child as their entire life. So addressing those ACEs, getting down to the mental health and the issues behind that is very, very important as well.
Yeah, and that was one of the things too. I was going to make a question about the wraparound services for our youth. Right. And it starts very early. Yeah. Because what happens to our youth, they're going to grow up to be adults. So there are we need programs for adults but we also need to start with prevention
Mhm.
with our children.
Right.
Make
Right.
certain that, like I said, when they get out, they're prepared and equipped, and then there are opportunities for them. Making certain they can make a living wage, making certain they can read and write, and there are opportunities outside of four-year colleges for them, and making certain that we address the sentencing process and the entire process for our young people.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's several different things. I see that a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Right.
But for me, having hands-on experience as a first responder
Mhm.
and a police officer here in Memphis, one of our issues is retaining good quality officers.
Yes.
When I came on, officers stayed 38, 30 years. Now they're leaving in 15, 10 years because other municipalities are plucking them out of our city, and they're looking for them to work in their city. But the main cause of that is because of wages and benefits and salaries and being able to progress in the field that they love. One thing will be investing in our first responders. The referendum goes a long way retaining quality officers in the city, and I support that holistically.
Yes.
The other thing would be, for me, is something I've done all my life, and most of us have, is invested in our youth. Pre-K services, we know that the children attend pre-K, they stand a better opportunity to be more successful in high school, middle school, colleges, and they come back to our community and stay. And they start being quality citizens in our community. The other thing is after-school programs. I started after-school programs years ago. Now I just opened a school serving 2,000 youth citywide and after-school summer programs. And our focus is having those kids be around positive role models and law enforcement officers, engaging with them and understanding that they are not here for the negative things that they may hear about, but they're here to protect and serve. And they're not only arresting officials, but they are coaches, they're mentors, they're fathers themselves and mothers themselves. And understand that a better relationship is needed. As children see officers in a better light, as they grow older, they start to respect the laws that those officers enforce as well.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a whole holistic view, ACEs and mental youth awareness and so many other things, wraparound services. So for me, it's quite a few things I want to tackle at City Council.
Right. Because I think I was stressing that the other day when we were talking, I was saying when I came up, each school had a trait in whatever field that they wanted to go into or they thought that they wanted to do. That's the school they would go to without being in a district or, okay, that's your district, that's the school you go to. I'm from the north. And each school that we went to, it was a trait there. So I went to the nursing school. And everybody that was interested in being a nurse or going to nursing school, that's the school they went to.
Mhm.
If you was a mechanic and you wanted to do mechanic, then that's the school you went to. It doesn't matter if it was your district or not. That's that school that you went to, and they have taken those trades. They're taking that out of the schools, the trainings, because in the summertime we had a job. We knew that we was doing nursing. That was what we did. So in the summer we had a part-time job in a nursing home, taking care of the sick, because that's what we want to do. In the different schools and different traits that they had, we all had jobs. So then we didn't have to look for it because it was already given to us.
So I'll put in a plug since I was a Shelby County School Board member for almost 8 years. Those are still there. They're not school-based anymore. They're more in the career centers, number one, because of funding, but number two, because of technology and where the jobs are and what we're trying to gear modern students to.
Okay.
So when I left the school board, the plan was to start as early as third grade. There have been 9 career choices that deal with technology that have been identified that's going to be in demand, and it's 2 years maximum. We're not going to have a 4-year degree, but it is their technology, and those are the type of courses that Shelby County Schools are shifting toward. They're building facilities, they're investing in, trying to push those out for a couple of reasons. Number one, the state is giving us money to do that, but number two, they're going to be the high demand jobs, and they're going to pay above $15, $20 an hour. They're going to be very technical. So while we do still need plumbing, the traditional courses, and we do have them, just not at the school level, there is a great need for us to prepare for the workforce of tomorrow, and it's going to be technology. Even with those traditional plumbing, mechanic, it's all technical now.
Yep.
I mean, you're not looking under the hood of a car very much anymore. You're diagnostic.
Right.
And so you have to go in that direction. And that's what Shelby County School has been looking at. So that's why you see a shift from the visibility of the traditional, because the money that was put toward that is now being pushed toward these technical careers.
Okay. And biometrics.
And biometric and things of that nature. And transportation and intermodal.
Yeah.
If anyone has the desire, go to East High School.
Yes.
We have about 19 or 20 companies who have come in, Cummins Diesel, FedEx, and if you want to fly a plane, they have an aeronautical. It's starting at 9th grade.
Oh, wow.
And you can even simulate and actually fly. East is the prototype.
Okay.
But there are so many different things going on over at East High School. I'd invite you to go over and just see what's going on over there in terms of the options for kids.
And I think it's good for parents to know these types of things. And that's another thing that I've noticed on the campaign trail, that a lot of times the information doesn't make it to the community. There are a lot of things going on, and education is really key for our constituents, making certain that the information gets to them. They have access to the information, that we have transportation to these community meetings, or they're in the community. And for instance, people knowing about what's going on at East, not just the people that attend East,
Right.
but overall.
Right.
That's important.
And that's what we're missing the mark at. I think that they did the study, I think 3 months ago, and they were saying that our kids are illiterate by the time they get to the 2nd grade, so now they're holding them back, from that. And that's where I had an issue with it then, because it's like, what are we missing? Of course, we have that No Child Left Behind Act, which actually, I think it left our kids behind. I'm just going to say it. I think it left our kids behind, because they figured they older, let's move to the next grade. So I actually don't think that, if she want to say something, I know, but she's looking at it. But I think that's one of the issues that we have to deal with. Now we found out that 68% from 2nd grade to 6th grade are illiterate, and they can't read or write.
Yeah.
So that study that's been coming out. Now, I don't know how true that study is, but that's what came out.
Right. And so the money for No Child, it's the same money. They renamed it. Race to the Top, No Child Left Behind. The new money is for ESSA. Every Student Succeeds Act, which in some level is going to help, because you may have heard when you test at the schools, they only try to get the certain kids that are smart so they can raise the test scores. Well, under the new formula, that's not going to be possible, because subgroups are going to count in terms of the score. So you're going to have to go down, dig deep. You can't just use a group of smart kids to make your school look good. You're going to have to make sure that everyone is smart. But there are some drawbacks and negatives to that too. But what the federal government does is that the Race to the Top, the No Child Left Behind, and now ESSA, it's all the same money. It's just rebranded and relabeled, and they push it out with more oversight and stipulations. A lot of these things you're saying, why do we have to do that? Why is it so crazy? It's because it's a mandate, and you have to do it.
Okay.
So, as a former teacher,
I was waiting on.
First of all, we know that the learning curve of the child is from birth to 5 years. So you're going to have to help the parents, because learning starts at home. And so once they get to the educational system, there are a lot of things as the ACEs, and if they go back to these same environments, that also impact them. So we have to do something also to help the family. And I noticed that you all are focusing a lot on education. Will the city council, be looking at funding something other than pre-K for the school system?
Because currently the city doesn't.
It does not. It just not fund. It got out of the business of funding education. But you have got to do something to help the parents, because learning does start at home, and the children, often you can tell the ones who have been taught at home, it starts in the womb. And that's they look at the zero from birth, but it has been proven that parents who read to their children who listen to music when the
Mhm.
child, before the child is born.
Mhm.
So we're going to, in order to bring the community, because as a cousin of mine said, I deal with an organization who have a prenatal program where we do 9 courses
Mhm.
for low-income mothers who are pregnant, got drugs and different things. And so a cousin of mine said, the unfortunate thing is that those children, after they're born, still go back into those environments. So we have to look at what holistic, because in order to save the child, you have to save the parents first.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so we have to break the generational cycle.
Yep.
So we can help, because people didn't used to. It's what happened. Why do people feel? Why don't people take care of their neighborhoods anymore?
I think.
I grew up in an environment where people who didn't have grass in their yard, they actually swept the yard.
Yeah. Yeah.
They actually swept. The children had to sweep
That's right.
the yard
Yeah.
out. And so it's what happened along the way. It's a lot of things. You know, if we know that people, the culture has changed.
Mhm.
Faith bases don't carry the same weight that they used to. Parenting has changed. Discipline has changed. It used to be the child, whatever the teacher said. So it's a lot. It's a holistic things that we have to do in order to bring our children to where they need to be.
And to piggyback on that, I appreciate you saying that, because that is so true. And that conversation needs to be had in our communities. And because we're all boots on the ground and we see this and we hold the same sentiment and we work with these community organizations that deal with this and address it and have to look at that as one of the problems.
Mhm.
But on the council, you know, we wouldn't be able to actually address it at that level. But the capacity that we need to support those that are doing it is what's needed.
Yeah.
Like Craig was saying, to be able to support the organizations and the faith-based organizations and community organizations that are doing these things, because it's going to take everybody. There's no magic dust.
Yeah.
There's no one solution. It's multifaceted, multi-generational, multi-level, and organizations that are right there doing the work. We have to support them as a legislative body.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
that's why I tell people, like, I not only am running and asking for your vote, I also want to give back to you. Also, as a council person, that's why a future council person, that's why I'm meeting with so many nonprofits and I'm learning about their programs, what they do and what they offer, so that I can be a resource to my constituents and connect them to programs or organizations that may help them, like Boys and Girls Club. So I've met so many mothers that work 2 jobs, and like you're saying, it starts at home and parenting in the early ages. Well, if that mom's working 2 jobs, she's paying a babysitter $100 a week. How is she really connecting and able to grow that child into the man or woman that she really needs to be? But then you go and you learn about the Boys and Girls Club, and I've learned about this program. For $10 a year, they can send their kids there after school. They get snacks, they get tutoring, they get to play with other kids for $10 a year. Can you imagine how that would help a single mother? She may not have to work that second job anymore because she's only paying $10 a year, so she can be there for that kid, to raise that kid the way that they need to be. But like you were saying earlier, Rhonda, it's about informing our communities about what exists to help them.
And that's been one of the issues that I've been talking about in some of the meetings that I've been in, with how do we relieve the parents?
Mm-hmm.
How do we take some of the stress off the parents, and then they have more time to be with their children, they have more time to learn. But also we have to look at another sense that we have some parents that are illiterate, so we need some training to help them so they can help their kids.
Yeah.
So some of the kids can get help because their parents don't have the knowledge
Yeah.
that a lot of us have. And I'm coming as an educator too, because I worked at Anthem Career College. And some of these parents have to come in as a trait because they have to keep the state funding that's given to them, so they have to go to school. But some of them have 8th grade knowledge. Right. Some of them passed the 8th grade or even got to high school. So I had to deal with them in a whole different realm, but I taught them.
Right.
But when I got done, and you would think they went to college, but they didn't.
Yeah.
But I had a program that came into the school that helped them on a high school level and helped them get their diplomas.
Right.
The school was open. And
You
so
help them.
I helped them.
You have to. There has to be an entity there that helps,
Yeah.
like Craig's program,
Mhm.
like our program. There's a program, our Grace, our Roots, that Michael runs. Those programs come out of
America
and
Works.
what,
That's
you know,
another great program.
yeah.
Nonprofit.
and
Yeah.
you know there have to be the programs that are actually serving the community
Mhm.
that can do that work. So you were able to do that because you were there. You were
Mhm.
in there. It wasn't something that somebody told you to do. It came out of a need that you were already helping with.
Right. Right.
And that's more effective.
It's more effective.
Mhm.
And then you got somebody that actually cares
Yeah.
about the parents, not just the kids, but the parents as well. And when the parents don't feel that you care, that's how we get into these issues that we have with these kids now.
So as elected officials in these areas, you know what's in your area. You know the programs and the wraparounds and the services that are there.
You need
and
to
what the
know.
needs
You
are.
need
Right.
to know them.
You should know.
You should know them.
Right.
But I want to shift it, I didn't mean to cut you off, a little bit to is what we're doing for the kids who missed that gap and they're now, and I'm seeing them in city court.
Mhm.
I'm seeing them, they don't have insurance, they don't have license, they had accidents, no one is even, so the school system, when we surrendered to charter, the driver's ed went away
Mhm.
because there was no funding for that. The city had $1 for every ticket went toward the funding, and that's how Memphis City Schools were able to fund driver's ed because it's not funded through the state.
Mhm.
And so when that money went away, there's no driver's ed anymore.
Mhm.
And it was a problem
Yeah.
when we had it, but it's really a problem now. So I see young people come in, they've never even attempted to take the test, they just drive.
Mhm.
And so they're racking up expenses, accidents, things on their records that's going to prevent them from these careers and these jobs, because employers look at, especially if you're going to be driving, that you're going to have a record that's going to make their insurance increase, and you're going to be a risk for them to hire, even if you have the skills.
Right.
So I really try as a judge to talk to young people. I ask them, have you taken the test? Have you studied? How many times? I'm going to give you 6 months.
Mhm.
You need the book. We have books. We give them the books. And I'm going to question them. When they come back, I want to know, did you take the test?
Mhm.
What did you pass? What did you fail?
Mhm.
And I don't have to go that far as a judge, but I just feel that they're here.
Right.
They need some guidance.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, if it comes from the judge, maybe it'll be more impactful.
Right. And
than
that's
the
why they do the
parents.
re-election.
And the
That's
parents.
why
So
you
if
need
you,
to
if you
stay
be there, then who would do it?
elect.
That's
Right.
right.
She's been appointed.
Yeah,
Elect.
that was appointed.
Yeah.
I was appointed.
Oh.
I was appointed. Judge Ernestine Honduras retired after 28 years,
Okay.
and so I was appointed.
I was there.
I was one of the ones where the appointment process did go, because it wasn't just an appointment. The mayor assembled a 15-member committee who interviewed applicants
Mhm.
for my position. He didn't have to, but he chose to. There were some other lawyers, but the committee unanimously recommended me, and then the mayor recommended me to the council, and then the council appointed me.
Mhm.
And so as I said, I think everyone who applied had the heart and the desire to do what was best for the citizens who come through there. But I had the experience. I draw every day on my experience as a public defender to understand how the system works, what's possible when people come before me and they tell me about a ticket. I know right away, because I've been there so long. I can ask you what color your ticket, and I can tell you where it should be, and I can determine whether or not you have a criminal case or a non-criminal case by did you take a fingerprint. A lot of things they can't tell
They don't
me
know.
what they
Yeah.
have. But
Yeah.
because I have the knowledge base to draw upon and the experience as a judge,
Yeah.
I'm able to help them problem solve there.
I'm glad you said
And
that.
it's good to be able to send them somewhere to try to get some help. But
Yeah.
it's better if I know the person they're in front of. So experience,
Is a
in
lot.
turn, it matters a whole
It
lot.
does, and I think it matters even in council. Like, I mean, Craig Little's, he was a police officer. He started nonprofits. I mean, having that experience is going to make him a great council person.
Absolutely.
But there's even some of these candidates in our race that they've got the heart, like you said, for it, but it seems like when you start talking about tax incremental financing, pilots, opportunity zones, code enforcement, the knowledge and it isn't there. It's not there. Everybody's really good at identifying the issues, what we need to work on in District 7, what we need to do. But do you know the real solutions, and do you have the knowledge to effectively change that? And that's what I'm looking. That's why I wanted to step up and run, because being CDC president, working downtown neighborhood association board, Memphis City Beautiful commissioner, I was appointed by the mayor as well for that, because I knew that's where my heart was, and I've got the experience to implement programs and clean up neighborhoods and do this. That's what it's about. It's about electing somebody that has the heart and then has the experience and knowledge to effectively make change.
Right, because we have the blight situation,
Yeah.
and that's a part of what's going on with our crime, in our different areas.
Right.
And we know we have to clean that up.
Yeah.
But what are some of the steps that you would do to clean that up as when elected into your seat?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you're asking. Well, I'll spearhead that because.
Go ahead.
So before you all dive into that, I told Towanna I do have a hard stop, and it's a little bit after I have to leave, but I just appreciate
thank you, Judge Treese. Thank you
to have this round table to talk and share ideas.
Yes.
And my compliments to the chef.
Yes.
Thank you.
Did you get a picture with him before you go?
We need to do that.
Chris, it's just laid back. We just do what we do. Look, he gonna go get him. Look, Craig.
I wanted to make sure.
He mad.
Craig, what do you say?
Craig.
Oh, okay.
Craig.
Craig's getting Chris.
Craig.
But no, we talk about blight, and that's one of my passions. So just yesterday, I was canvassing on Crockett, which is in Smoky City, right off Breedlove and Decatur. And I knocked on a door, and I said, I'm Jared Price, and I told him where my background. And this lady goes, well, if you serve on Memphis City Beautiful, look at this lot next to me. And she showed me a big grass lawn that was overgrown, and she said, I can't get anybody to ever care about this. And so one of the things I did was I emailed the right parties. They got a hold of T-Dot. T-Dot got a hold of the email that I originally sent. They got a crew out there today mowing it.
I saw that.
I mean, that's what it's
That was
about.
beautiful, man.
That's
a lot of people.
That's what it's about. I mean,
Getting it done.
getting it done. I mean, but knowing who to go to and how to make it happen is how you become an effective council member.
And it's not always what you know, it's who you know all the time.
Sometimes it is. And whether those people like to work with you and it's a big thing. Ooh, that looks so good.
That is wonderful, man. Yesterday we had some good food too. I hate you ate before you got here.
I know. I was like, man. Is that, did you order food? Did you order food here?
Yeah.
Is that here?
No, I ordered yesterday.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Was it yesterday I was here? Day for yesterday. Whatever, I'm coming back.
I wish I would have ordered some food.
If you're on the Craig Lewis team, we coming back Tuesday. I got a surprise for you. Be here in Avalon. I already got reservations for you. It's time to win. It's time to win, team.
That's right. Oh, it's after 2. I gotta skedaddle too. I forgot about that.
Come on, Tuesday.
Yeah. I got reservations.
I'm still recording. I know. I'm gonna be here, so I'm still recording. It don't matter.
I gotta skedaddle.
All right,
Knock on doors.